What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing great. I'm glad you chose that one specific still.
I know. I'm in the cage with him, throwing rocks at the poor lady.
It's an actual playground. It's gonna be an actual playground in Paris, right? They stumbled across or planned to
Oh
shoot
yeah,
at.
there's no way they just built this hippopotamus.
I mean, it fits for the scene.
It's
Kinda.
so cool though. Dude, this was the first time I saw this movie and I
Really?
loved it. Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, okay. I'm hoping this is Dante's first time too, because this will be the first time we all three watch a movie we haven't seen yet.
Oh, this is your first time too?
This is I've never heard of this before.
Dude, sick.
It's a good
That's
movie.
what's up.
Yeah. What have you been up to these past couple days?
Well, we had this thing that I'm doing on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. A friend of mine is now the head coach of the varsity soccer team at my alma mater high school, and so he's asked me to be like the chairman / analyst because he thinks I can handle the administrative side, and then watching film and degrading children is something I will be good at. Telling them they need to step it up and they suck at soccer. So that's kind of that. And then so other than that, just working. And I got to hang out with my grandmother on Sunday. We got to watch Wimbledon, and so that was a lot of fun. And then yesterday, Chelsea.
Come on, mate! That's exactly how you start your first. Come on!
Through to the Club World Cup final, man. It's exciting stuff.
Fuck Graham! You are the fucking best left back in the world! The best left back in the world! And there's no question about it!
And I honestly haven't even been paying attention to PSG and Real are on right now. Let's see what's going on.
What's the final?
Bro, PSG is up 3-0. Oh my word. Fabian Ruiz has 2 goals, 6th minute, 24th minute, and Ousmane Dembele a goal in the 9th minute. Dang, we're gonna have to play PSG, bro. Oh, I'm scared now. This is not exciting news. Fuck. Oh well.
Is that on Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
It's at MetLife, so
Why?
there is that. It's the biggest NFL stadium, largest capacity NFL stadium. And Arlington isn't a big enough city if you wanted to include Jerry World. So New York, just to say you had it in New York is what's up, and that's where they're gonna have the semis and the final next year for the World Cup.
Interesting. So I'm sure it's probably some like logistical, because this isn't. I wouldn't think that. This is just Europe, right?
This is the World Cup, so this is everyone, but it's like the first time they've done it in this format.
Oh, wait a second. Is it like a qualifier for, or is it just?
No, this is for club, not country.
Okay. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they still get the credit.
Come on, baby, light my fire. Yeah, we have the soundtrack in this movie, man. Like, not to get ahead of ourselves, but like, I love the music the entire time.
I'll bring it up again when we talk, but when it was "Fuck the Police" being intermixed with a no.
Oh, that reminds me, I gotta get my prop. Hold on. Dude, on the menu, on the top menu for this, that's what plays. Like, it zooms down to the neighborhood, and then it rests on like when you see the outlines of the shapes a little bit, and then it's just that music. And dude, it's so sick. Yeah, I'll have to whip that out when we start. Come on, baby. Oh, dude, that's what we need. Sponsor. Hey, Diet Coke. Coca-Cola. I dated a girl in Atlanta for a while. I enjoy the city quite a bit. Wouldn't mind getting down there again. So it's just dog. So I drink Diet Coke all the time. 0 calories. Awesome stuff. Here, fantastic. Just as good as the last time.
Better than last time.
Better than last time. Coca-Cola is worth. Let's see what their market cap is right now. $299 billion. I think they could probably throw $3 million a year our way, and we could have their logo in our credits. We would only serve their sodas on set, and we would include their sodas only in all of our movies. Starting right now, $3 million a year until 2028, and then we can rediscuss. That's our initial offer. Coca-Cola, please consider. And we really look forward to getting back with you.
But look at the upside. You might think 3 million is a lot right now, but once our first 2 movies blow up and billions of people are watching, you're gonna think, oh, can't believe we're paying like 10 cents a soda can to a viewer.
Hey, that's exactly it. But look, that's how confident we are, and that's why we're only extending this offer till 2028.
Because you guys are the number 1 soda company in the world, and we are the number 1 production company in the world.
Amen. Gotta start somewhere. Makes sense, but dude, what if I get fucking ripped and drink Diet Coke every day? And it's like, you could be me if you worked harder. But I drink Diet Coke, same as you.
That argument might make you a lot of money if you follow that route. Because you're bored of Coca-Cola executives looking back like, damn, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 0 calorie drink. Drink water. But, when you have a hankering for something sweet or something else on your palate, it's 0 calories. It does not affect you. You're going to piss it out in an hour and a half. Should your, bodily systems be operating normally. Right? I mean, what is an hour for alcohol? And then I think alcohol goes through the body a little quicker than other things because it is a poison. Although it is a fun poison. Don't get me wrong. Everyone can enjoy beer too. Responsible adults over the age of 21 who are not drinking can enjoy an alcoholic beverage. That is an official message by St. Glass Mosaic. We do not condone underage drinking or drinking while operating any sort of machinery, let alone heavy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Three-Headed Dragon, the only film podcast that is a necessity. I will not take credit away from others that may be entertaining, others that may fill you with some sort of semblance of emotional satisfaction that fills the void that you so desperately long to have satiated. But we're the only one you need, regardless. Welcome back. It's a new week, it's a new day, and we have a new film for you. We have France's own from 1995. In English, The Hate, but in its native tongue, La Haine, directed by Matthew Kasanovitz and written by the same man. Boys, how are we feeling about the movie?
Great movie. We're 3 for 3 on, this was less, coming of age, but they're still young and they're still kind of.
They're in that little gap between like youth and adulthood, I guess. I'll start. One thing I found kind of cool was how much it related to the first movie we reviewed, Menace to Society. There's a lot of like similarities, but I'm gonna get into that later.
Yes, so I picked the movie this week. One, because I thought it was sort of on brand with what we'd been doing before, where it was centered around a young man who had to figure out some things. And, although, like you said, Dante, there's some similarities between this and the first movie. It was another shorter film, I think an hour and 38 minutes. So not a lot to tackle, but black and white and French. Had to read a little bit.
Well, I say, yeah, you picked our first foreign one, so I'm gonna give it up. Breaking a milestone.
Well, gotta try new things. But this was also the third in a row to be a Criterion film, so I got to watch it on the big TV behind me that you can't see behind my new playground. But that's that.
Yeah, is that a hippo?
It is. Yeah, Jake and I were talking about it. What'd you say, Jake?
Did they have found that hippo before he made the movie and was like, I need to incorporate this in my movie? Or was he just driving around like, I need a good playground to shoot this scene at? And all of a sudden, this hippo just came into view.
And I like it because it's staggered. Like you have one character here, right? You have Vince here, Saeed, and then Hubert.
Now that I'm seeing that, I remember that from the movie, but I really just thought you had like a big hippo thing in your what are they talking about? I was super confused, but no, that's cool.
I like the symbolism behind the hippo too, which is why I kind of thought it was maybe planted. It was this playground, something that kids go on, and the entire movie they were talking about how they're being chewed up and spit out by the same the system and the life they live in, and the slide comes out the hippo's mouth. Kids got spit up. And
most dangerous animal on the planet.
Yes. How?
And it's where kids play. That's beautiful symbolism, but
they're all muscle too. Like that giant hippo, it's not fat. That's pure muscle coming at you. And those jaws.
Aggression.
Yeah, scary.
What about you, Jake? Was this your first time seeing it?
I'd never even heard of it before. Watching it through, I think there were a couple times like, oh, I've seen this shot before, but no, I never heard of this before.
That's crazy.
I was pleasantly surprised. It's a movie called The Hatred in black and white. You'd be a little bit, scared. Like, I don't know where this was going to go, and to an extent, it was kind of exactly what I expected in terms of like the realness, grittiness of it, but also at the same time, it was powerful. It was, it was eye-opening. It's fun to watch. They had their lighthearted moments with the Yo Mama jokes constantly going through the entirety of the film, and it was really well put together. They're really impressed. I also really liked the art and everything about it. I'll touch that a good amount, but just every sort of like piece, all the graffiti, the music, even in like the paintings in the background. bravo, brilliantly put together.
So for me, this is once again, y'all did a great job for these first 3 weeks. Cause like I said, I've seen a lot of movies. I know about a lot of movies, and y'all just so happen to pick 2 that I've been trying to watch for like the past decade, just never got around to. So I appreciate y'all for that. But yeah, because I've been trying to watch this movie for a super long time, and it really wasn't about what I was always thinking this movie was about.
What do you think it was about?
I don't know. Just not about kids chilling in the hood. Like, I really appreciated how, I guess, like the familiarity in a foreign place. It's like, oh wow, like, we all do a lot of the same things, but just to really see it in action, it's like, wow, like that's kind of similar to how we do certain things. And side note, Black American culture is so prevalent, because why in France are they beatboxing and break dancing and wearing wave caps, and like, we just so lit? But I'll get to that later. Yeah, no, I really genuinely had a good time with it. It's still real fresh in my brain. Yeah, and I'm excited to break down the plot with y'all. Let's see what's going on.
This is another movie that starts with riot footage.
Same time
that we've seen.
Early 90s.
Same time. And they literally brought up Rodney King in this movie, and that was shown in the Menace. But like I said, bro, the similarities is crazy, because first of all, you just really get that spirit of like youthful rebellion, but it's youthful rebellion towards good things. And it can, like, the difference between the 2 movies is like, one, like, they show it from different kind of perspectives. One is a perspective of a place where guns aren't that unfamiliar, and it's a place where drugs kind of get poured into, and a lot of the youth are brought, like, it could be like a same side of 2 coins thing, because imagine those French kids were brought up in a place like Compton in around the same time frame. They'd probably be on a lot of the same stuff, just with different circumstances because of where they are.
It goes to that human experience, and that's why I think we as people, especially, us 3 being movie lovers, identify with this sort of thing, identify with the stories that have been told and the art that is there, because whether it's a story in the Bible from, 4,000 years ago, or it's Shakespeare 600 years ago, or it's a movie from yesterday, there's always going to be the same themes, the same emotions, the same greed, the same hunger, the same fascination. Like, that's what's so cool, is when you can find yourself in someone else who you think is in a completely different circumstance than you. And I think that's the beautiful thing about all 3 of these movies that we've picked out to start this podcast off, is like, all 3 of us can identify, like, with certain things that these people are going through, or different emotions that they're feeling, even though we're not walking in their shoes. But we move on to a shot of the Earth, a still from space of God's beautiful blue and green Earth, ethereal creation.
It was gray and more gray. What are you talking about?
Yeah, pre-Technicolor, and then this dirty, man-made, violent object, the Molotov cocktails.
Well, first, the line, not about how you fall, it's about how you land. That was, great, being shown throughout the movie, plenty of times, all the way to the very ending scene, which we'll talk about a bit. But then we jump straight into, like, the first major juxtaposition, and this is kind of what happened in Menace to Society, where we had this light, fun tune playing as all these riots started, and things turned violent.
And one thing I really loved about that song actually is like what they're saying. Hold on, what song was that? Does anybody know? Anybody know?
The reggae song toward the beginning.
Yes, I knew it was a Bob Marley song. So he was like the lyrics as they're showing, this footage of, we call it riots, but I'm gonna call it revolution, rebellion. And like the lyrics are like burning and looting, but then like he always flips it. He'll say like burning and burning pollution, and like he flipped it so many different ways. And burning all an illusion. Like the lyrics. Oh, it was fire to me. Such a great song for a moment like that, and it really wasn't something I was expecting. Like, why is this French movie playing Bob Marley? Actually, I know music is universal, but still, like.
Well, that's kind of glad you brought that up. I think this is a good time to give a little just historical context on France. Because back in 1770s, we declared our independence, and free of the British. A couple of years later, French tried the same thing. They tried to rebellion. We don't like the king. We don't like his wife. We want to execute them and bring in our new guys. And then a new dude named Napoleon was brought into power. And he kind of fucked shit up for a minute. And then to which the French people were like, this is bad. Let's bring in the son of the dude we just executed. And they kind of went full circle. French Revolution happened. And now we're just kind of sort of back to where we were. And that cycle leaves a greater impression of, when we think of revolution, we think of things drastically changing. But sometimes in a revolution, things just kind of go back to the way things were. And that mindset, I wonder if it holds different to a French person than someone from the USA. We have seen more of a revolution lead to change, so it's more appealing. It's more.
I totally get what you're saying, and I think that the American culture was, at least post World War II, was built on the idea that you could work hard and, have whatever lifestyle you want if you made it. In Europe, in France, you have a safety net. Over there, especially in this movie, it highlights a lot of immigrants, in these suburbs, in these major cities. And so with that brings also with it ideas of revolution or feelings of homesickness, or that they never had home, and so they wish to place their ideals on where they are now, right? When you get a bunch of these people together, like, you're bound to be revolutionary. And then when you have something like a catalyst where someone like Abdel, who grew up in a neighborhood, is the same age, is in a hospital in a coma because of the police, well, I mean, what else is going to happen? You could argue whether the reason is right or wrong, but they have a reason. And now you've given them the first step, like the, like you, Jake, you mentioned the revolution, right? And it was, I'm blanking on the name of the day, but I'm pretty sure it was in Boston, and the redcoat accidentally shot, and then that was it. Shots were fired, someone died, and there were blood on their hands, and we were slowly off to independence. Speaking of the main characters, we have three. We have Vince, Saeed, and Hubert, all very different characters. One, Vince, being a French Jew, and then you have Saeed, who's a North African Muslim, and then you have Hubert, who never really claims religion, but he does wear a cross necklace. So if you wanted to complete the trifecta of Abrahamic religions, you could say that he is a Christian. And so now you've got, three different races, three different religions, all in one friend group.
So we're gonna play a fun game. You're all each general managers of a new French Revolution, and you have to start, bench, or cut one of our three protagonists to have on your revolutionary team. You want to go to protests and be idealists. Who are you starting I think we could probably all agree on that one. And then who are we benching and who are we cutting?
Starting Hubert,
Yup.
benching Vince, cutting Saeed. Saeed talked too much.
First half, I would have switched Vince and Saeed. I kind of view Vince as, through the first half, he was that guy who's going to come into the locker room. He's going to be pissed, and he's going to start a fight with the referee and punch a teammate. And you don't kind of want a good player to have on your team, but sometimes, the locker room can get a little trouble can come out of the locker room there. Whereas, Saeed always had that kind of, laid back, what do we say at one point? Like, why are you guys upset? We're be fine, which, is good after a loss, maybe a bit more energy. But after a while, yeah, he didn't really, I think that having that Vince, that spark off your bench would be a better.
I understand Vince. He wanted to do more than what he knew he could. He knew he couldn't really catch a body. I feel like he could have if he absolutely had to, but he didn't have to. So he just didn't have the will to. And that's kind of why I resonated with Hubert, because to anybody who out there who's ever watched One Piece, which is a lot of you because it's the most popular series in the world right now, in one of the first episodes, this character named Shanks gives a speech to this character. He's like, hey, yo, if you're going to pull a gun on somebody, you have to put your life on the line. You can't do it half-assed, because you can die. And that's kind of why I picked to start Hubert, because he kind of understood that. He's like, yeah, this isn't play. You're either going to do it or you're not. Stop talking about it so much. Stop flexing it so much. Stop, this is real life. And that's definitely was my reasoning. I know, among other things, he was just a cool dude. Side note, what was he smoking?
Smoking good gas.
What? You remember the scene where he was in his room and he hid the thing behind his bed? That was just, what did he hide behind his bed? Money?
No. I'm pretty sure it's heroin.
I thought so, but because I remember he was looking at the needle on the ground, so I was thinking that might have been something he was doing it, but that's why I was asking what was he smoking, because
It was, it was a dark color, and to me, it looked like something that you'd throw on a spoon and heat up.
I haven't done enough heroin to.
I have not done any hard drugs.
I mean, he was also the only one with a job.
Because he had weed, he already had a joint, so we know it wasn't weed because he had flour, and they've been smoking flour the entire movie.
In fact, they put a lot of emphasis on it.
Yeah, because remember when we get to later when Saeed and Vince, they go into that little atrium area, and then they see Saeed's sister, and then we break to the break dancers and all that stuff. Hubert's there, and he sells that same cut third of the brick that it was to that guy. Which, speaking of, while we're on these main characters, Hubert's bedroom, all the imagery, there, going to speak back to what Dante said about American influence. I'm pretty sure it was all American athletes. You had Muhammad Ali, and then I think Jesse Owens was the other poster with the Olympics, and so two prominent black athletes during the civil rights movement, and then pre-World War II with Jesse Owens. So hardcore black power, again, pacifist nature. Hubert is a pacifist. So I'll go ahead and answer. Start Hubert, bench Vince, and cut Saeed. You would want Hubert as a leader, right? You want a cooler head. You want someone who carries a big stick, right? You want someone who can show discipline. He's a one-hit wonder, man. I mean, he knocked the shit out of a guy with riot gear on.
He took that ball off his feet.
Bro, he is jacked. I mean, you saw him moving the bag too. He ain't playing around.
He owned the gym.
Yeah. So, and then occasionally you might need the hothead to go in and handle a situation. So you got to keep the Ferrari in the garage whenever you have a track day. So that's why Vince is on the bench. But yeah, man, I just thought it showed a lot about Hubert's character, to where It's like, he's in this situation, and for any of these people, getting a job means you're not getting subsidized by the government anymore, and you're not going to be homeless, right? So you're forced to sell drugs, which he's doing, or like the friend whose car got burned down during the riots, like selling DVD players and TVs and all that stuff out of your bedroom.
Even the
You got
guys
to make
selling hot dogs on the roof.
yeah, yeah, like you're doing whatever you can to make ends meet, but at the end of the day, you see at the core of his heart, like, this is a guy who wants to help people. This is a guy who doesn't really want to hurt anyone. He's a business owner. He wants to get out of this predicament. He wants to help his family. You saw him give money to his mother. Um, and then with his gym, he's disciplined. He focuses on his body. He wants other people to do the same. And you get the complete opposite with Vince, where like this guy's stepping up to his grandmother, who's like making him breakfast. Like, dude, come on. Like, this is your little Jewish grandma, and you're like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah," like it all in her face, and then with your sister, and then you have Saeed, who is kind of just the middleman trying to keep everybody together, keep the trio alive.
Saeed had a little more scumbag in him too. This is another reason why I cut him. Not saying that's a fault, but it's definitely another reason why I cut him. Not as afraid to, talk how he wants to talk. And he's another person who's gonna make his money, how he's gonna make his money. He kind of had like a little loan shark thing going on. Perspective.
Yeah.
He was driving the plot because they were moving around to get his money.
Because they went to the actual city to go, and like they were talking about how, the police here are so much nicer. They called me sir, and as soon as they walk out the building, they get jumped by cops. And
that's another, like, I feel like good parallel, like how America is, like different areas get policed in different ways. And that scene also like reminded me of a scene in that movie Straight Outta Compton, where there's like a similar kind of like, oh yeah, we're up here in a nicer scale area, we go outside to get some food and immediately like getting tackled to the ground for no reason. It's just like, once again, nice little parallel between the areas and similar time periods.
what I thought was pretty cool was when they were in more of the projects, a lot of the shots were kind of, handheld, kind of moving around more fluid. It almost seemed like we were there with them. And then once we got into like the main Paris city, it seemed a lot more cinematic and almost more, we were part of, like, it was a movie, and that's how they felt it was.
More like keep your head on a swivel. And then you can sort of just like relax. Yeah, that's a good thing to point out. Didn't really know.
Yeah, because when they get to the city, that initial shot, I believe, is like, it shows the grandeur of this street that they're on and the architecture, and then it pulls away to the three of them sitting back, sort of away from this. And then it's like, I think there's like a timestamp right in between, and then it's like, well, what the fuck do we do now? I'm bored. Like, they've just been sitting around in different places all day. I mean, it was so great at being raw and capturing like the pre-phone, pre-social media guys just hanging out and the brotherly banter and all of that nonsense. But there was a lot of go ahead.
I mean, that just needs to be mentioned, and how these three seemed like three lifelong friends. There was so much chemistry in between them. It was. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So, I did a little bit of research on like the backgrounds of people. So, I know we said we were going to mention the soundtrack a little later, so this is a good time to tie it in, to bring the tangent all around. So, the music of the film was made by a rap group called Assassin, and one of the members, whose name was Rockin' Squat, is Vince Castle's brother. So then Vince was only 30 years old and the director was 28. Now, Vince was also played by Vincent. Hubert was played by a man named Hubert. Saeed was played by a man named Saeed. And even although he was not in the movie, except for a picture and being mentioned on the news, Abdel was played by an Abdel. So my theory is, although it's not confirmed, everyone was pretty well connected and they all grew up in this neighborhood or around it. And that's why they're so comfortable with each other.
And to
Plus,
stay
they
on,
were probably all smoking and drinking and having fun. So I mean, it was easier to let loose and relax.
Dante, what were you saying?
oh, and to stay on, like the main three having chemistry, really like the whole neighborhood in general. I loved how like hey, like tell your big brother to get at me, I love that. It just feels super lived in. Once again, it just feels something that just feels oh so familiar when when everybody grew up in these areas, you see each other at the store, you see each other at school, church, yada yada. I just really like stuff like that. Just that community feel. Everybody chilling on the roof. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody.
Diving from the music, when you had that DJ mixing with his turntables outside of his window and his two massive, like 6 foot, 7 foot tall speakers. I was so interested in how they did that shot where they took it from his window and went over the neighborhood. And I found out it was a remote control helicopter. So, like, some of the first ever, drone shots, you could say.
And they really popped off with the music on that scene too. Alex and I were talking briefly before we started, but combining "Fuck the Police" and "No Random,"
Those guys were dope.
beautiful, fit together so well.
Once again, just Black American culture just kind of fueling that rebellious spirit, because we definitely did do that with the turntables and the NWA and yeah, but it's dope to see. I guess other people do their own little spin on it and see how it was done during that time period. I like it when I guess DJing in the early to mid 90s played a role in movies like the movie Juice. Omar Epps' character, I'll get back to that later. Omar Epps' character was like big in the turntable. I just love when that's an element in films from that time period. So that's obviously something I really enjoyed.
Yeah. I also think the youth of the cast and the crew made a big difference with their selection in the music, with their ability to convey such a real, and yet dramatic and intense tone, Like, it was a movie, but it felt pretty realistic. So Vincent Castle was only 30. Hubert Kunde was 25. The director, Matthew Kasovitz, was 28. And Saeed Tagamore was 22. So we're on the right track, guys. I mean, he made this shit at 28. And then they had a budget of 2.6 million euros and they grossed 15.3 million in the box office. 15.3 million US dollars. There is a difference.
The euro and the dollar is close enough.
Yeah, I mean, just say the budget was about 3.5 million and they made 15.3. I think anybody's happy with that at the end of the day. Plus, it's gained such, cult acclaim. And I'll go into like a little fun fact that I found. This movie was not on DVD until 2007, 12 years after its release. And that was only when Criterion picked it up and released it on DVD.
It's on VHS.
Yeah, it was on VHS in, I believe, 98. So, but it hadn't really gained like steam in the US until that DVD came out, and it was like, oh, Criterion came out with a movie. You know how we are. and then people watched it, and it's been more and more loved and reviewed.
And actually, going back to the music real quick, another thing that really reminded me of Menace was the music. To like from the Gap Band songs to Isaac Hayes songs. Like there was the Isaac Hayes song I could have sworn was in Menace at the cookout scene, but it might have been a different song by him. But like that just kind of made it feel like even more lived in for me, especially like coming from America, hearing a lot of these songs and like these artists growing up. It's just like it just felt very not surreal to see, but very strange. It's like, wow, like this is so crazy. But no, the music definitely played a big role in how I viewed and enjoyed this movie. But let's get into some more things that was happening in the plot.
Yeah, so let's go. So the boys have been sitting around, kind of shooting the shit. Saeed ends up getting a pocket knife from Abdel's brother, who he says has a shotgun, and they're driving around in the back of that car. And then Hubert, amidst one of Vince's rants, says, "Oh well, let's just go see Abdel in the hospital." And then Vince says, "Well, hold on, I got something to show you first." And then we see the infamous gun that has been lost by the police, and a new legend in the projects.
How the hell do you manage to lose a gun?
Sorry.
That's the one thing on me that I'm making sure I have at all times.
Yeah, somebody hits you upside the head with a bat behind you, might drop it. And you're like, oh, gun. Crowd running around, getting kicked around. Oh, yeah. Nah, bro. Speaking of Abdel's brother, that was the sorriest attempt at murder I've ever seen in my life. Why did you cut the car off, dog? Like that. How do you let it go that bad?
It wasn't a drive-by, it was a park and shoot.
He parked the car, dog. Roll the window down. Like
didn't even kill the dude. Barely shot him.
I know it was a shotgun and it only grazed his shoulder.
And you were like 3 feet away from him, dog, and then your car stopped working.
And then he gets out. It just makes it 2 feet before he gets hit.
And then he gets body slammed, just boom, just straight to the ground. He gets fucked.
He didn't want to get away. He was like, "Oh, my brother's gone. I don't got nothing else."
Well, that's kind of part of it, is when this is your entire life and you lose some things closest to you, much more reckless do you get? And you see that with Vince throughout. As soon as he gets the gun, he starts acting a lot more reckless. He starts acting like he's got nothing to lose.
Oh yeah, that when people get that gun in their hand, it really shows how different they start acting.
Oh, it's kind of the same as alcohol, it only makes you more of what you are, right? Kind of like power, kind of like money. If you're a generous person, if you're a kind person, if you're a friendly person, alcohol is only going to make you happier, friendlier, kinder. Money's only going to make you more generous. All of these things, and you're probably only going to use a gun for defense. But if you're selfish and angry and full of, grudges towards people, then, gun, alcohol, money, power, drugs, probably going to turn you into the Hulk or a murderer.
Wasn't that the plot of Captain America 1, where he took the super soldier serum, so he's a better person, and then when Red Skull takes it, he's just but also kind of like a messed up version, Hydra version. But he's still evil. He still became more evil.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that.
And then when how would y'all have reacted if y'all figured out that Vince took the gun inside the hospital in the police station?
Bro, I'd be like pissing my pants. Bro.
They didn't know though. They didn't know.
I know, but like you're telling me I find out after the fact?
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean,
bro.
it's-
I mean, I'd still be pissed. Like I'd be like you've got to hide it because in Paris, I'm pretty sure it's just like any other major city where if you're caught with a gun, it's especially concealed handgun, it might be a felony. And then if you're an accessory to a felony, like dude, you're not getting that off your record, especially the other two who are people of color who live in the projects. Like hell no. Are you kidding me? Nah.
You saw how they were
So-
treated when they were just walking around and they were like being beat and thrown on. That scene was like the exact same one from Menace to Society when they got picked up outside of the Snoopy's house.
It literally exist and just
Yeah.
I don't like the way you look. Come here, like spitting on him, like oh my, watching those type of scenes, you're just like, oh man, like in those situations, what am I doing? Because
And then when they went to the hospital and the police that were there were trying to protect Abdel and his family, and they were still taking, at least Vince was still taking his anger out on them. And the other cop was kind of like, hey, like, listen, like they're trying to protect. They are not the people you are mad at. When they all put on the same uniform, it's kind of hard to distinguish who is who. And even, as it Vince was like condemning Saeed, like you shook that guy's hand. He's not the person that we're like. Then neither of them could see where the other one was coming from.
yeah, I could see where Saeed was coming from, like shake his hand, and I could also see where Vince is coming from. Is like where there's corruption, you don't know what's a bad apple unless you really get to look. When fruit are rotting, it spreads, and like I said, you don't know unless you know. There's always facades, and that's kind of where I felt Vince. Or like what do you mean you're shaking his hand? You're cool, like I come. That whole scene where they're with the one dude who I don't really exactly remember who he was, but I know he was a cop who got shot. Who was he to them again?
I think he was just one of the friends who grew like
They grew up
in the neighborhood who always kind of grew up with them. So
I thought he was like
you're a little bit more. He's the dude who kind of came out and was like, hey, what are you 13-year-olds doing out? Go back home at this time of night. And, at least our town is one of those cops where
he grew up with like the older kids in their generation, like because like he was like, yeah, Saeed, your older brother would have killed you, and like yada yada. But I wholeheartedly like understand why Vince wouldn't even like look him in the eye, and like there are good people who become police, but at the same time, like I don't want any parts to do with any of them, and I understood where he's coming from.
It was mentioned, it was kind of the whole part of the whole theme of the movie is that, hatred breeds more hatred. You constantly keep hating, they're going to keep hating you back. Look how it ended.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like an interesting point with that is we also have to decipher where the hatred begun. And I do wholeheartedly agree, hatred breeds more hatred, but we can't expect certain. It's like you all know that quote like about when the sheep protecting themselves from the wolves. Sure, if the sheep retaliate, the wolves are also going to retaliate back, but how long before the sheep just keep letting themselves be eaten? So yes, hatred does breed more hatred, but sometimes something has to shake, some things have to change, and that I do think is like the core argument of the film.
While we're on the topic of things changing and all the effort throughout the movie, there was, we've got to, we shoot this police officer, it'll start making things right. The whole riot kind of had like there were catalysts being thrown about. And this kind of brings back to when I was talking about the revolution earlier, when they were in and how it's all cyclical and nothing really, the more you work, nothing really changes. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. But when they were in a Snoopy's apartment, in the background, there was a painting by MC Escher. I don't know, might be how to pronounce the name. You guys have definitely seen some of these paintings before, or pictures before. They're all the optical illusions of, the stairs that kind of go up and then this way and then this way, but it comes up the same one. One of his most famous paintings, Ascending and Descending, was kind of behind them when they were discussing that. And I immediately clicked that because it was kind of one of those things where you can be walking up those stairs all day, thinking you're changing stuff, thinking you're contributing to this revolution. At the end of the day, you're just right back where you started. And that was kind of just something that I thought was really cool, that they incorporated this painting and just the background of a shot. Half the time Snoopy was covering it, you couldn't even really see it. I thought it was a good way to physically represent, kind of show how futile this fight is.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that. Just, such as life sort of thing. But speaking of art, actually, did Vince steal that that little sculpture? Did he steal that piece of art? That's kind of what I got from that scene, because I feel like when they were looking at it and he was like, do you think this dude's famous? And the very next clip we see Vince, he had like his jacket clothes and it looks like something's in there. So I thought he stole it, but it didn't really matter at the end of the day.
I keep my eye out second watch. That would be a good pull. Yeah.
Oh, it kind of looked like he did.
And it's a good way because they're more like wealthier, a little like different class of people, and they kind of like a fuck you to them. You guys don't know shit about art, especially as we've seen so much graffiti and throughout the movie. There was like one time where he said like "fuck your mother," and right behind him was in French like "fuck ta mère" or whatever it was. God, that's a good. That was tough.
Speaking of the graffiti, low-key, I think my favorite scene of the whole movie, "The World Is Yours," when Saeed changed it to "The World Is Ours." I love that scene. I love that scene. So obviously it's not a quote. I do actually have a favorite quote. If we'll get into that at the end because we still got more points to hit in the actual movie. But that scene says so much. It takes away the individuality, because at the end of the day, we all have to share this. Like, the world is mine, but it's also yours, and you out there watching, and you out there watching. And we don't treat it that way. Everybody, especially nowadays, is very me, especially with social media added into the equation and just the facade that is. So I don't know, that scene really, and like it was just dead silent for it. And just as the other two boys walked off, and it's like he had to catch up with them. I really loved that scene.
And it being the same gray and gray earth that we saw at the beginning of the movie really emphasized that point. Yeah, that was beautiful. And it's French. It's that working out. You couldn't do that in English. You can't change one letter in English to make it say the world is.
Yeah, you could like spray paint out the Y. Yeah. I was thinking about it when I saw it. I was like, how would I do that in English? And then I feel like "The World Is Yours," the fact that the song came out literally right before this movie, and the things that song is about, the same topics that are being touched on in this movie, just from a Black American perspective. But like I say, it's just so cool to see how relevant certain things are in areas like, I'm not thinking about France. I'm not thinking about, I don't know, Bosnia. But the world is such an interesting place. I feel like that is another like core thing to take away from this movie.
You don't think about Bosnia?
Not often.
They're cheated out of coastland by Croatia.
I knew a girl from Croatia.
Just turn it all into Yugoslavia again and see what happens.
Does not work.
The trio, after Abdel's brother attempts to kill the police officer, they end up in a restroom where they find a short old man.
I love that scene.
Favorite shot of the movie. Favorite is with him in the middle, and then the other two on the side, but you see them in the mirror looking down at him. I just thought that was because usually when you're looking down at someone, you're kind of you're looking down at them, and that's like filmmakers use that as a symbolize that you're looking down. But there was a they were respecting his story, but they still weren't getting they weren't getting it. So he walks out and they're like, "What the hell was he talking about?" I thought that was such a cool way to show that all together.
Okay, here's my question to pose to you two, my little game. Which character was the man who went to take a shit and could not pull his pants up or get on the train in time? And who was the man holding his hand out? Which of the trio fill those two characters?
The guy who was so, he was so proud he couldn't shit in public. He couldn't, keep his thoughts to it. Ends up killing him at the end.
So
consumed by these
and then his own fear is what led to him freezing, because he was ashamed of doing something everybody else had to do, and I don't know. I mean, I guess my first pick would be Vince to fit that bill of like the man who went to go poop and reach out his hand, but because we're talking specifically trio, I guess Hubert's the one who reached his hand out, because he was the one who put it in his brain towards the end that like this is real life. I'm giving you a lifeline to get out. You can choose right now whichever way you want to go, but you can't go back. So you either grab my hand now or you stand. Especially since Hubert was very adamant in getting away. But we saw a little shift with Hubert. We saw, and I liked it, because it gets to a certain point where you're just like, man, like whatever, dog, like what we on? And it happened. I don't know what the switch was. I guess it was them getting locked up. I guess that had to be the switch, yeah. Because right after that, they went to the art show, and at first we didn't even like really notice the switch. Like he was chilling, he was talking to the girl. Saeed kind of messed it up for everybody. That was horrible game. Like, bro, Hubert should just left them and like left with the light skinned girl. That's what I would have did. But no, like the moment he like threw the sculpture, I was like, oh yeah, he acting different. He moving different. So yeah, so I definitely would pick Hubert to be the man who reached out. But Hubert also, may have been a little late to the train instead of the little Jewish man.
Well, this man also, he overheard everything in the bathroom they were talking about. He heard them talking about wanting to kill the cops and about everything they were going through. He is still the man who was sticking. I know we said within the trio, but here he is there giving them this warning, telling them this is the path you guys are going to be down. And here's my hand to get to. What was that?
It gave him like a little PTSD, like this feels familiar. Youth. I'll give you some like old man wisdom and not explain it. He was a little dude.
Yeah. It worked. I mean, it worked so well. I think he needed to be a little dude.
Absolutely.
Great shots.
And after they exit the bathroom, they end up going to pick up that money for Saeed, where they leave that building, and the duo of Hubert and Saeed are beaten and captured by the police and then just berated and choked. And that's a really awkward scene, because it's like, what was the deal with the one cop in like the cuck chair watching this whole thing go down?
I feel like he was like being trained, like he was very like very rookie, and because I could kind of tell that he really wasn't agreeing. He looked like he had a lot of hatred in his eyes, and it was kind of hard to tell if he had hatred in his eyes for the boys or the cops, but it definitely seemed like it was more focused towards the cops, because he was like, yeah, I don't like, he was like a lot of shaking his head. And they were kind of like coaching him up. They're all like, "Oh yeah, this is the hardest part. Like the easing up is the hardest part because you just want to keep hitting them." And he's just like silent, like no, like this is crazy. I can't believe this is what you want to do. And I like the fact that he said no words because at the end of the day, he's still a cop. But you can tell he's very new, very fresh, and he might not agree with some of these things. And that's all we know about him. He could leave. He could choose to stay. And I really liked the dude in the chair. I liked him being there to go off about the cops. You brought up cup chair. Lots of emasculation type things, which is what a lot of those types of people like to do. And it's just been a very common thing throughout history to emasculate. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't know who else around, but yeah, so it was a very tough scene to watch because of that. Oh, he's got such a pretty face. Oh, he looked like a girl from the back. Like just little stuff like that. It's just,
I don't know about y'all, but throughout this entire movie, I was like, up until that point, whenever like Vince pulled a gun, I was in my head like, don't do it. This was like that clip in the movie. If Vince came in there and shot those cops dead, I would stand and applaud. And I thought that was like the kind of the turn for me, where it was, I was still rooting for them to succeed, and you kind of watched it knowing that something at the end was going to have to happen. And this was the first time where I would like, yeah, they are completely justified in that final crash out that's going to happen.
and the thing is, they didn't even really get a final crash out. Like Vince died on accident, and that's how he leaves the earth.
It's the beauty of, let's cut back, to 10 minutes before that happens. They're in the train station. They go in there on the way home after the cops finally let them out past the time they're going to make the train. And Vince goes up the escalator and sees two cops there. In his mind, he pulls out his gun and shoots them. And they fly through the window in slow motion. He shoots the other one, who also flies out of the window in slow motion. And it was a very, cinematic death compared to when Vince died, and it was just his imagination compared to the real life, what actually is, and the grittiness and how things truly are when you actually live it and not just think about it. Would you have preferred if it was Hubert at the end who shot the cop, or the cop at the end who shot Hubert?
Oh, wow. The Notre Dame dude, I want him dead from the second.
Yes.
I hope he will. Oh my god, bro. I hate dude.
Let me rephrase that. Do you think, what's better for Saeed, if Hubert shot the cop or the cop shot Hubert? Either way, he lost his two best friends.
Oh, what's better for Saeed?
Yes.
Oh, I still think what's better for Saeed is the cop dying, because say the cop shot Hubert watched both his best friends die, and he's still probably gonna get taken into jail. And whatever the cop says happened, it's all gonna be on Saeed.
Yeah.
That would have been a bad option for him. At least because there were other cops at the beginning, right? What happened to them? Because at the end, I thought we just saw Saeed looking at. Maybe they were in the car, but why would they
were around? There were three of them.
Yeah,
because they grabbed them. They're like, not so tough.
Watch it.
It wouldn't even be a 2-on-2, because they were like saying not so tough without all your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because and Hubert was down the road. As much as I want to see that Notre Dame cop get his comeuppance and die a grueling death, I don't want to see Hubert. The entire movie was saying an eye for an eye will make the world blind. Virtually, you don't have to kill Abdel you don't have to kill the cops because they beat Abdel. And I would like him to have stayed that way throughout, but I can also totally see, and it's totally justifiable to see that he changed, and
yeah, that moment,
this guy just shot his boy. She's shooting him,
And if you rewatch that scene, like after the cop shows like his initial shock of like accidentally pulling the trigger, he like kind of chuckles about it, and that I think, in my opinion, would have been my breaking moment. like where I don't necessarily care what happened to him, but I definitely agree with what you said about Hubert, because he was somebody who never wanted to be in a situation like that. He wasn't trying to be in the streets. He was just trying to, just make some money, go by his day, go on somewhere else, explore maybe. But so the fact that he was put in that situation is a tough thing. Do y'all think if Saeed had the gun, what do you think he would have done?
Ooh.
I think they both shot each other at the end. I'll have to watch it again and then under like further analysis, like find out if there were two shots in the sound, recorded and look at the sound waves. But I think they both shot each other. But I like that it's left up. Sorry?
Y'all know we can share screens, right? I have it pulled up. I can just like show it.
Okay.
No, but keep going.
But I was just gonna say, I like that they left it up for interpretation. And then if Saeed had the gun, he's definitely shooting the cop straight up. He's not hesitating like Hubert did. Like, with Saeed sort of being that middleman of the friend group and all that, he still is a lot more jumpy and emotional and reactive than Hubert. So I definitely think he goes ahead and shoots him.
You think Saeed?
Go ahead, Dante.
Hold on. Okay. I asked that after. Can y'all see?
Yeah.
Sans tes copains, tu flippes ta mère. Hein. Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? Tu flanques moi. Hein. Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? Regardez là. Regarde.
C'est l'histoire d'une société qui tombe et qui, au fur et à mesure de sa chute, se répète sans cesse pour se rassurer. Jusqu'ici, tout va bien. Jusqu'ici, tout va bien. Jusqu'ici, tout va bien. L'important, c'est pas la chute. C'est l'atterrissage.
It does kind of sound like it came from both sides. The first time I thought I only heard one shot, but it does kind of sound like it came from both sides.
So I will say this. That sounded very different than it did on the disc.
I don't know if Saeed would have shot him.
Yeah, I don't think he would have shot either.
Really?
He was like
passive.
Fuck you guys. Are you guys being serious? That's a bullshit ass take. Did we watch the same fucking movie? Are you guys out of your fucking minds? Get out of here. I mean, that's why you pick some bullshit ass colors like red and blue for your dragons. Why don't you get you shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear shit from you. I'm done with all of this. You guys want to be pretentious in your color when you knew this was a black and white movie. I'm done with you. I'm done.
Rain checked. They have a special place for people like you. It's called a mental hospital because there's no version. No, I'm just playing. I can't even get loud right now. I was gonna go back with you, but I could.
I think if he did shoot him, it would have been as soon as it's ripped.
Yeah, it would have been
instinctual bang.
The instincts. But
that's what I'm saying.
If he had a split second to think, he wasn't gonna pull the trigger.
And if he was in Hubert's position, the gun wasn't even up yet. He was still walking over there when that shot ran out. And then Hubert pulls it up for a second.
But he was holding it the whole time. It was never holstered or pocketed. He had it in his hand the entire time.
Like nobody expected that to happen. So I feel like he was kind of frozen. And who's to say Saeed wouldn't have been frozen like that too? It depends on a lot. It depends on placement. If Saeed was across the car like he was and saw the whole thing, I think he would have shot it. I feel like if he was in Hubert's position, he wouldn't have shot.
Because he's also behind the car. He sees the two other cops. It's like, well, Hubert was kind of. Where did they go?
They weren't there at the end. They couldn't afford them any cops for that long.
So, in light of violence, to clarify on the background of the director, Matthew Kasovitz was inspired to write the screenplay after reading about the murder of two young Afro-French men who were killed in police custody. Kasovitz was not from the projects, nor was he raised in a rough neighborhood. However, he has said in interviews that he cannot believe a thing like this could happen in modern society. Since 1981, there have been over 300 people killed while in police custody in France. Kasovitz wanted to shed some light on the subject. So, I mean, that's another. Well, no, I guess the Hughes brothers. Did they grow up?
Yeah, they grew up.
Okay.
Because that was their whole thing. They were from there and wanted to shed some light on things they'd seen, like from people who actually came their perspective. They actually. I'm not gonna say they're the anti that because I feel like, I'm not from France, but I feel like Buddy did a good job of showing a lot of different things. But their whole thing was, and same thing with John Singleton, who I'll actually come back to at the end of this, but since I'm picking a movie, yeah, their whole thing is they didn't want somebody not from where they were from to tell a story about where they were from. But I'm not like mad at Matthew for trying to shed some light on something. That's all you can really do if you're well informed. Like you can't shine light on things that you're just kind of like BSing, you don't really know about. You might have heard through the grapevine. No, if you do your research, you can tell it all for the most part. And also if you're not trying to speak for people.
Let's move on to final reviews and feelings we got from the movie, and rewatchability. Start with you, Jake. What you got?
All right. Real quick before I touch on that, I just wanted to say that the choice to make this movie in black and white in a time of color, I think was a great decision because it showed, at least in my mind, how Vince views the world as he views it in black and white with a little gray area in there. That was just one of the things I want to touch upon as my final notice I have written down here. So,
question actually, was that a stylistic choice or like out of necessity?
It was out of necessity because it was cheaper. However, the director was prepared to spend money to produce it in color if the black and white version failed when it released in theaters. But it was filmed in color.
Oh, it was filmed in color. That's great. No, but yeah, I also agree with the whole everything Jake said about the black and white. I do think it helped with a film like this to help this stand apart. And not saying, everybody needs to make everything in black and white to stand out, but when it works, it works.
At the end of the day, when I finished watching it, I thought it was a great, powerful piece. I think it was one of the movies that everyone should watch once in their life. And I think if more people watched it, there would be less hate in the world. I definitely want to rewatch it, especially after everything we've talked about today. But it might be a year or two until I get around to watching it again. You can get heavy at points, and I want to clear my mind of all the yo mama jokes. So when they say them again, I can laugh. I forgot they said that one. That was funny. That's a carrot up her ass. Yes, your mother is so stupid. She does stuff like that.
Dante, how you feeling?
As the revolutionary that I am, I greatly appreciated this movie. It said so much in so little time. We saw lots of blends of cultures, and in Europe, it's always been kind of interesting to me how that, like, the blending of cultures works, because obviously it's different than it is in America. But seeing people's perspectives on things, I feel like a lot of things that happened, a lot of character choices made sense. And I feel like, I'm not surprised so-and-so is like this, not even for stereotypes, but kind of for stereotypes. I feel like every character was well thought out, and every move made sense. Every line of dialogue, every way every character felt made sense for who they are and what they were wearing at the time. I've yet to see a '90s movies with bad fits. That's gonna be a point. All my characters are gonna be fitted, but naturally. But that's side note. Loki, I feel like this is something I could just, if it's on TV, I might could cut it on. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I feel like it's one of those things I'll probably learn something new every time I watch it. And there's so many things that you just kind of skip over, like the whole scene where they're in the hotel with the wild boy. Like, it kind of reminded me of something that happened in Boogie Nights, but very different. I don't know why it even reminded me of that. Enjoyed my time with it. I learned a lot. I feel like I could write a whole paper about each character, about each scene. Yeah, it's probably gonna be things I wish I said that I'm blanking on right now, but it's all good. But definitely gonna be something I ponder a little while. I'm gonna need to ponder for a little while longer.
This was sort of unexpected with how serious it was. You know, I kind of expected it to be the more casual day in the life film that might have like a serious undertone, but no, it was just pretty intense from the start. But I really, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I feel like you were probably expecting it to be more like a movie like Kids, like you said, like Day in the Life with darker undertones. But no, this is like off rip. Like, we are in the middle of some real stuff right now.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just I really sort of to go off your stereotype point, I really liked the trio being completely different, you know, both on paper, but also how they dress, you know, the way they appear physically and, you know, the way they act. It's very refreshing to see a group of people on screen that don't necessarily all have the same goal nor the same vision of how to get their goal, you know, but they're all in the same place and they're all hanging out at the same time. And that was very cool. I really want to rewatch this movie, but life is busy and we have a podcast to run. So like Jake said, it might be a year or two before I get to revisit it. You guys ready to hop into some trivia?
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind grabbing a piece of paper, we will keep the same Jeopardy format.
You want to borrow one of my pieces of paper?
Yeah.
Got it?
Appreciate you, dog. I got it right here.
Perfect.
Crazy how that worked.
First question. Vince's monologue in the mirror is a reenactment of what character?
That's even easier.
Vince's monologue in the mirror when he's getting ready in the morning is a reenactment of what character?
Can we real quick? Can I just say something about that shot real quick?
Yeah, yes. Dude, when they flipped it from the mirror to bro.
First off, I was amazed. They did that with, it was a set, right? It was a
was
whole
stand-up.
mirror and double, and he ducked down, and then the real Vince, all right? It was hole in the wall.
Yeah.
That is
But it
beautiful.
looked like a mirror. It's crazy how they did that. I saw that in like a YouTube video breakdown like years ago, but way before I watched the movie. And I was like ready for it. I was like, yeah, that's lit. Oh, but I got my answer.
All right.
I got nothing.
Answers.
Who is Travis Bickle?
Oh my gosh.
Jake, what'd you say?
I left it blank. Mine was still blank. Wow.
Oh, you weren't ready?
Well, I had nothing. I was drawing blanks.
Oh,
Okay, I can see that.
All right.
I can see that.
Alrighty. 1-0 to the Blue Dragon.
So when you said that, I
Sorry.
was like, for some reason I blanked on the name of the movie, Taxi Driver. But then, like you said, character, I was like, I don't know why I'll never forget the name Travis Bickle.
In the English subtitles, this character was named Snoopy. What was that character's name in the script and in the original film in French?
You got an answer?
I have something written down.
All right, what you got, Jake?
Okay, you can go ahead.
All right, my answer is Le Snoop.
That's funny. I just said, what is Charlie Brown?
No. We were looking for Asterix. Asterix.
Wow.
Is that Snoopy's name in French? Because or was the Charlie Brown joke also
The Charlie
translated?
Brown was a joke. Wait, so that means they didn't write a name.
Because at one point, doesn't the lady said like he's like I'm looking for Snoopy, and the girl's like, oh, all I have here is Charlie Brown.
Yeah, that was she was because that's why he got so mad. He's like, oh, this bitch is playing with me. She thinks it's a joke. Yeah.
After real police officers were highly offended about how their police counterparts were portrayed in the movie, they greeted the arriving cast and crew at the Cannes Film Festival by turning their backs to them in protest. What major award did Haine win at Cannes? All right, gentlemen, what do we got?
I said, what is the Palme d'Or?
I have best original screenplay.
Unfortunately, you both are incorrect.
Didn't win it.
Matthew Kassovitz won Best Director at the 1995 Cannes Film Festival. The movie was released in May of 1995, but after all of the drama surrounding the film, the president of France himself chose to have a private screening with his cabinet. In which month of 1995?
For a second, I thought you were going to ask us the name of the president.
That'd be a dickhead question.
I'm juggling between 2 months. I'm gonna be so wrong if I get this mad. Whoa.
I'm changing my answer.
I want to change my answer so bad. I'm gonna leave it though.
Great answers. What answer did you put? What answer did I-
Change your answer. I'll give you time.
No, I'm not gonna second guess myself.
Okay, all right. What you got?
October.
I said, what is November?
October was the correct answer.
My second guess was September.
Dang. Alrighty.
All tied up.
How many toothbrushes were placed in the cup in the scene where Vince does his best taxi driver impression? This should be relatively easy if you paid attention to the environment.
I got 2 answers. I'm gonna just pick one.
Ready whenever y'all are.
I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
3.
I was 4.
It's 3. There are 3 people living in the house.
I knew it was 3, but I was thinking maybe it's a curveball.
For the official tie or Jake's first win on Three-Headed Dragon, I will also give you the leeway of 10, just as Jake has allowed in the past. This film is a part of the Criterion Collection, which features spine numbers that go all the way up to, I believe, the 1250s now. What is the spine number within 10 of Haine? Keep in mind, I mentioned the DVD was released in 2007 by Criterion.
And Criterion's been going on since the 80s.
And we're at about 1250 right now on spine numbers. I could be so wrong, but just trust me, I'm right.
Okay.
So we're around 1250. All right, I got one.
All right. I went 571.
I went 560.
Whoa. Extremely close. But the same as Menace, you're both extremely far away from the real answer of 381.
I was gonna do 460 at first, but it still would have been wrong.
I guess they only started like recently picking up, like, you know, as they go on.
I knew recent years they had a lot more come in, but I thought they had a little bit more by that point. I thought that would have been way too much for the last decade.
The man himself, Jake Clancy, you are trivia champion of
That
the
makes
week.
you better dub.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Better catch up. About to get left.
Alrighty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one more thing to do. Dante, what movie will we be watching this week and reviewing next?
Can I get a drum roll? We're actually, surprisingly, gonna stay in the same year, 1995. but a couple months before, I think it came out in January. Yep, January 11th, 1995. Directed by the late, great John Singleton. But the movie we will be watching is called Higher Learning, his third movie. His first was obviously Boys in the Hood. His second was Poetic Justice, starring Janet Jackson and Tupac. And third movie was Higher Learning, starring the great Omar Epps, Ice Cube, Jennifer Connelly, and Lawrence Fishburne. Great cast. It takes place all on like this college campus. And once again, it's all about college, which is, kind of going back to the theme of last week, but now instead of leaving college, we're freshly going into college. I feel like it's something we can all relate to a little bit. And this is our first movie over 2 hours. So I picked a little bit of a longer one.
I can't pay attention that long. I need Subway Surfers playing at the bottom of the screen.
For sure.
Awesome. Alrighty, guys. Well, I've got a soccer game to get to, so I appreciate your time, and I think this was a really fun episode. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope to see you soon and next week for Higher Learning. Stay safe, drink responsibly,